What's up, YouTube? This video will be uploaded tomorrow on the 16th of January. Just not really good connection where I'm at right now. But anyway, I have been officially, abstaining from a lot of degenerate content on YouTube, such as Vlad TV, Say Cheese, any interview regarding rappers, comedians, entertainers. I refrain from watching, and that's a big word for me to use, from almost a year and a half of not reading. If you want to understand what I'm feeling right now, think of that show, The Boondocks, that episode where Huey watched nothing but black television for a whole week or month, and you saw the effects of him. That was me. I really just really put my studies to the side. I really wasn't actively reading like I portrayed I was in some of my videos. I was not really reading like I once did after my exit. And today, to get back in my routine, I did some research on Abraham Lincoln. I downloaded some textbooks, and I feel like when I'm a little more stable, I think that can contribute to just how my brain functions when I have more stability going on. But anyway, I want to really just dedicate each day to learning something new, really 20th century history. I may go further as my journey for just learning different things progresses. I may go further, into different centuries, maybe the medieval times, the time, before Christ. I may go into those eras as well. But today, I dedicated my time into learning about Detroit, the city. At one point was one of the most populated cities, one of the top 10 most populated cities in the United States. It was a very rich city at one point. It was responsible for the auto industry, where, cars were being, created. A lot of our car manufacturers, such as Ford and Chrysler, were home to Detroit. And unfortunately, Detroit is not what it once was today, thanks to a number of factors that I will talk about in this video. So we have, blacks coming in during the Great Migration era, which I compare to what we have today with the migrant crisis going on in so-called inner cities, black inner cities, like Chicago, like New York, like Philly. We have a lot of that going on today. And these are, there's a lot of similarities between the two. I mean, they're not welcomed by the mass of the inhabitants of the area. They're not welcomed by anyone. And I feel like in the next maybe 20 years from now, there will be ineffective border control where it doesn't really matter if you're a criminal coming from wherever you come from. You will be allowed entry into the United States, no matter how many crimes you committed, no matter if you're a wanted criminal. It doesn't matter. I feel like in 20 years, there's going to be ineffective border control, and the Hispanic will be possibly the new Negro, if you will. But back to Detroit, when the blacks were coming in, they weren't welcome at all. There were a lot of racial tension because don't believe that segregation just existed. It only existed in the South. There was segregation going on in housing in the Midwest as well, and up north. But there was more opportunity with jobs in, the Midwest and cities like Chicago, cities like Detroit. A lot of blacks fled to these towns for more opportunities because there were no opportunities relating to work in the South. And I will not say that it was worse than the South, but there were still, laws. There were still a lot of obstacles to face living in Detroit in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. I mean, the neighborhoods that blacks were allowed to stay in were not as superior as neighborhoods that whites were living in. And the more blacks that came into Detroit, the more whites fled to the suburbs. And understand that when a group that has wealth and power leaves a certain neighborhood or city, the resources leave as well. So let's say that celebrities all live in Los Angeles and all the celebrities decide to leave, or let's just say all the celebrities just decide to leave. They decide to once live in a city like, we'll just make up a city called like Pendlebury, Wisconsin. They all decide to live there, and over time they get tired of it and they all just leave. Well, once they leave that city, the resources leave as well. The property value goes down. And usually when the property value goes down, the taxes that you pay for your home go down as well. But that wasn't really the case for people in Detroit. But also, kind of over the place this video, there were a lot of factors on how Detroit got to the way it was. And one of the major factors was the 1967 riots that took place in the summertime in Detroit. And this all stemmed from a police raid that took place at a bar that was unlicensed. And it's rumored that someone threw a bottle. There was a bottle being thrown, and that's what initiated the riots that lasted for more than 2 days. And there were over 2,000 buildings destroyed, hundreds of arrests, 42 deaths, I believe, over 42 deaths. And this is the advent of when a lot of the whites begin to just leave. They felt like, because every time when there was a riot, like the riot that took place almost 4 years ago, most of all the cities were, they had renovations done from the aftermath of the riots. Well, not necessarily Detroit. The riots took out, no one decided to really put any more money into Detroit once the riots took place. Things sort of just stayed the same. But where I'm looking at things, it doesn't make an excuse for things to just be neglected. You know what I mean? It's like, my perfect example is me. I got into an accident. My brain, I would experience tiredness whenever I would try to do anything, like reading, like music. I haven't played music in over a year, played guitar in over a year, because I get tired. I don't have the brain power. I'm building it very slowly, if you could tell, but I didn't want to throw in the towel and just call it quits. I told myself, and I tell myself every day, I have potential to be something in life. And I feel like the people of Detroit of the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, and 80s, they should have put all of their money, everyone should have came together and saved the city. At least downtown is fine, but I'm not from Detroit, but I'm talking about the east side, the west side, everywhere that's the inner city of Detroit. It should have been saved. Everyone should have put all of their money into the neighborhood. Forget shopping downtown. Forget putting your money into the fast food chains that probably won't even hire you. They won't even give you a second look. Put all your money into the neighborhood, and that's how you keep things afloat. Like me, I've been boycotting a lot of businesses this year. That was my New Year's resolution. Boycott a lot of businesses that wouldn't give me a job, and if they gave me a job, I wonder how they would treat me in this job. If I feel like they won't treat me in a respectful way, I'm not going to support their business. I'm not going to buy their food. I'm not going to buy their groceries. I'm not going to support their business. I'm going to do part 2.